Good evening. This is Beaty-Coffey of the Ministry of Uncovering No More. I just wanted to show you these lovely bags. Got 3 of them now. One is small and then 2 of this size, which is like 75. And look at this. One has my Prismacolors and these are my Faber-Castells. Oh, very, very organized, which is type A personality, nice for my soul. I just went out and got myself some peppermint. And here's a beautiful incense from Whole Foods. I'll get you the brand. Just got it yesterday. Big treat. Hadn't had it in a while. They have cones as well. So I'll tell you what that is. I'm going to read for the God Pod. Last week's God Pod. Oh, excuse me. Allergy eyes. I'm going to try to use some lubricating drops tonight. I think that doesn't help a little bit. Let's see. This is Maroma Patchouli. It's one of my favorites, and like I said, I haven't gotten to have it for a while, so it's definitely a Merry Christmas for me. I feel spoiled rotten when I get to get one of these because they're just the best of the best, and I personally, well, it's been a long road. It's been a long road, and I still feel guilty to get something really nice. And that's screwed up, but that's what happens to you when you've been disinherited for real. I'm just looking at the beautiful swirls of this particular, for some reason, this particular brand of incense swirls in very beautiful patterns. Others don't, but they're not bad. I love my Indian incenses from India. I've got a source for those. And I'll be featuring different types. This particular stick, these are very intense. So like to burn a whole one of these, you would need it to be in a huge room, like a double car garage size room, and it would have to be ventilated because these produce a lot of smoke. So this is okay. So I'm putting it out again. I was just, I'm invoking heaven basically to read a chapter of the Bible. And when I do this, that means there's not going to be any Christianity or Catholicism involved. I'm a pagan and an agnostic reading this. And I have my peppermint tea. And I showed you the art materials because I am trying to... This is where the rubber meets the road. Because I started going back to the Catholic Church. I'm going to try very hard in 2024. I love Mass. I love all the motions. I love the artistic side of the church buildings. I'm going to close myself off. When I go to enjoy Mass, I'm going to close myself off from the politics and the capitalism and the actual criminality of all churches that's going on, and just become apolitical, which I have announced on, I believe, both of my X accounts. Probably need to put it on Threads, because I'm learning myself. I'm learning myself to stay at peace with generations baby boomer through Z, and then to be able to go into a church and not feel like I'm doing something wrong. My actual Christian life was as faithful as it could have been. I was too judgmental times and stuff, but everybody was. So I'm owning my shit, but I'm also having to, because of all the blame games that go on in Christian and Protestant, Christian and Catholic midst. I'm proving to you, YouTube by YouTube, how I'm deprogramming myself. I kept going to church and to churches. And the reason that I did that was because I'm not going to throw away my faithfulness in a 50-year Christian walk. Protestant. My dad chose Protestant. To a degree, I kind of wish my parents had gone Catholic. The really sad thing is Protestants think Catholics are wicked and Catholics think Protestants are wicked. And when I talk about Christians, I'm talking about all of them. And I can't, face to face with a lot of them, you can't talk that way. They hate each other. Not everybody, because I've also seen teachers that I appreciated in the Christian church, like Bob Mumford, cross the aisle peacefully a lot. And I'm about to put a blog article up with an immortal on X because he retweeted it, that the Pope is taking a very firm stand pro-LGBTQ, and I'm very thankful for that. And as a matter of fact, I talked in that my last YouTube or the YouTube before about, look, John Michael Talbot. I'll be listening to John Michael Talbot on Sundays because he took a stand years and years ago that Catholic priests should be married. I don't know what his stances are on LGBTQ, but I have a feeling, but this is just a guess because I haven't listened to him in years, and I've not delved into any of his teaching because that's not for me. But I respect it. I highly respect John Michael Talbot and his wife. I just don't keep up with their ministry, but I love their music. I love his music. I don't think she is a musician, but I can't remember. But it would surprise me greatly, and I would retract what I just said if I found out that they actually teach against LGBTQ. There is honor for everyone among leadership that is humble, that just don't say anything. Neutral position. And that is where the King of Kings, in my personal opinion, has been I'm going to have to use the word that comes to mind because it's such a prevalent problem. Is spirit raped the most. What he doesn't give a parable on, what he doesn't state, is as important in the gospel record as what he did. Understanding when he was talking to the religious people of that day in their language versus teaching large groups of people that he was unblinding is another huge issue, because if he was talking to church leaders, he wasn't talking to me. Particularly since I already know my angelic state, but he wasn't talking to witches. He wasn't talking to warlocks. He wasn't talking to anybody but church leadership. And if you think the Jewish church leadership of his day was any different than the Protestant and Catholic leadership of today, think again. It is a huge breakthrough that the Pope is making, the statements he's making, and he will deliver on them, is my hope for the Catholic population. But I was saying that my last YouTube like this, I talked about this stuff and have referenced John Michael Talbot, who I will be listening to. He just has some beautiful, quiet music, and his people, they're lovely people. anyway, he has read a lot of scripture, and that is something that I guess I'm getting to do now too. Still have not failed. I either hid it from myself, which I'm finding that I'm doing that sometimes, because magic will have you hide things to keep you safe. Just letting you know, if you've got several sets of runes and tarot walking around with you, be prepared to be a little stranger than you were, because that stuff has got power. I had a crow, literally, when I was privileged to go into a coffee shop this morning because I had some errands to run. I was privileged to have a crow, literally, stand there and in the parking lot and bless me out. Man, that crow was not happy. It told me about it. I was like, what is the matter here? Thankfully, I had my journal that I've talked about, the new one, and I'm writing my higher level testimony, actually poetry to a degree is coming out. I just discovered that this morning, but I had my Crotera, so I did a draw. Well, guess what? One card drew itself for the second page of a 2-page piece. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm almost certain that I'm completely certain that the New Testament of my mother and father's life is completely comfortable with Beaty-Coffey of the Ministry of Uncovered No More. I'm pretty certain that that God and Jesus and Lucifer and Mary and Santa Claus and all of them at the God Pod show, and Spirit, and I think there's a few others. The God Pod show, Return of the Santa Claus. I'm pretty sure they're okay with people like me. Guess I'll find out later if they're not. So I'm dealing with a God Pod show, The Return of the Santa Claus, and I'm going to read Matthew chapter 7. And I feel safe, I feel happy, and when it comes to the Bible and how so many people just love an argument and love to take pot shots at each other just for quote unquote the fun of it is rather horrifying to me. But it has been all my life, and I tried to get people to quit and they didn't, so I had to walk off, because people are going to be people. I have authority that was very, very drastically disrespected, and so I'm trying to come back off of feeling so demoralized. There's no words for it for quite a long time. So I am glad to be held accountable by my own discipline, because the God Pod show on podcasts, Apple's podcasts, is released on Tuesday. Now, it may take them one more day on the YouTube. I haven't caught up with that, but I enjoyed watching the YouTube. It was fun. So I listened on, like, driving somewhere. I listened to it on the Apple podcast, but then as I was doing the artwork, I actually got to watch some of it too, which means I picked up more details, because the God Pod show is, I said a while back that their church, that the Godfather is like a pastor figure to me, and that's the religious me that has been a Christian for 50 years, who's now admitting to you it might have been better for our family to stay in the Catholic Church. My parents and I. That being said, I wouldn't have my 10 children if we'd done that, because Curtis is a Protestant, and we were both involved in that big movement, as was my dad and mom. So you know, my life would have been absolutely and completely different. So I'm not saying that that's what should have happened. I'm just saying, being that I am an original and an ancient type, but also just a practical person who been there, done that, like a lot of us, Generation X. Um, there's some positive sides as long as this atmosphere is clean and that there's not any child rapers and stuff going on, because some of the Catholic churches are like that. So, you know. Anyway, Matthew chapter 7. I don't know actually why I decided that Matthew chapter 7 was what I needed to reference while I was listening to this. I also drew PHANTOMWISE Tarot. So, let's see if I can remember. But if not, if you want to take the time with this, help yourself. Let's see what's in there. Matthew chapter 7. Okay, it's in the midst of the Sermon on the Mount. Pass no judgment, and you will not be judged. For as you judge others, so you will yourselves be judged. And whatever measure you deal out to others will be dealt back to you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye with never a thought for the great plank in your own? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there is that plank in your own? You hypocrite. First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's. And I'm going to say, in this day and age, your brother or your sister had better be asking you, or mind your own business. Do not give dogs what is holy. Do not feed your pearls to pigs. They will only trample on them and turn and tear you to pieces. And I've had that happen over and over. And love never fails. I'm a stupid person a lot of times. Ask and you will receive. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened. For everyone who asks receives. He who seeks finds. And to him who knocks, the door will be opened. That's entirely in the spirit, bitches. That is not prosperity gospel coming out of the King of Kings speech. And it wasn't even English. Is there a man among you who will offer? Oh, this is what it is. That's right. Okay. I was talking about this somewhere, but I'm defending the father figure in the God Pod show more globally, because even I have a hard time with God the Father, like in Genesis. It's too male. And I just have a problem with it. And I'm not going to shy away from that, but I'm also not going to let it, that fact of that's my problem. I just feel like the atmosphere is way too male saturated. And God, I've been feeling that for years. And I don't know if that's ever going to change. But real men don't do it, is what I can tell you. Real men don't do that. And matter of fact, they'll make sure they go in the opposite direction and support women first. Or support dark skin over white skin kind of thing, which I've done some publicly. I'm pulling back and going apolitical at this point. So I'm just going to be nice. I'm just going to be nice. I need to heal from what I've been through. So I'm not going to make any points for a while. And you go right ahead and call me a coward. I probably am one. But that's why I did this, is because I'm defending the God the Father role and just simply using the God Pod, but I'm doing it everywhere. And part of the reason that I'm doing that is because in my own family, it's the shift is going way more positive now. There's reasons for that I'm not willing to talk about here. good reasons. But, you know, the hearts of the children are restored to the fathers. Well, it doesn't say that about mothers. And that is painful to me. Again, I feel left out, and I have every right to feel that way as it concerns the Bible. The Bible is very male-centered, and I think that's a problem. I do, and there's no answers. It's an ancient book, but, you know, I mean, for me to be able to say that, I'm coming from a direction of that's blasphemy for me to say that, because, you know, white men have been preaching in my lifetime that it's inerrant. But what they're really saying is how I'm teaching it is inerrant. Go somewhere else if you don't agree with me. I've been there, done that enough. I can tell you that white men are telling you that if they're in the pulpit. They've got too much authority and it's not balanced. And there are no answers for that. Okay, I'm going to stop after this part, this parable. But what I'm going to say is we all need to heal. You need to be able to trust your sources of enjoyment. The God Pod Show makes me laugh on a regular basis because I have been a Christian that long, but I'm apolitical now and I'm more pagan. I'm pagan, and they don't have a problem with that. Matter of fact, they prefer a lot of us to be more pagan than, you know, they are like me. I mean, I've lost whole blogs calling Christianity and Catholicism into repentance for obvious reasons. Things are changing. It took a hell of a lot out of me in that transition in my ministry, because I had to keep writing. I had to keep calling into repentance according to the book of Jude, snatching out of hellfire. And now I am exhausted from it. Made some acquaintances and friends and family hate me, literally, but not really. I'm just not going to care about her. She's too hard to get along with. And, you know, that's just not, it's not as hard as being outright bullied like so many people have been. It's hard, but it's not that hard. And I'm going to, again, remind everybody that you should never deny your own pain. I should never deny my own pain. However, we can't become unbalanced with that and become narcissistic and only understand our own pain. We've got a lot of that in this society where nobody's empathetic. People have no empathy and don't know and don't care. And that is where the death of this country is happening. You can rebuild your empathy, though. And I strongly recommend that you do. That's what I'm doing. And yes, it takes discipline. I can tell you that. Because we have been hurt. We've been hurt. We're controlled. So, ask and you will receive, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened. For everyone who asks receives, he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks the door will be opened. And again, that is a heart matter. It is not prosperity gospel. I've had a lot of things answered, a lot of divine appointments. I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Is there a man among you who will offer his son a stone when he asks for bread, or a snake when he asks for fish? If you then, bad as you are, saying he didn't, know how to give your children what is good for them, how much more will your heavenly Father give good things to those who ask him? Always treat others as you would like them to treat you. That is the law and the prophets. Now, I'm going to stop there, most definitely, because then it's talking about the narrow gate. And I he's speaking in allegory or in fairy tale or in mythology, and it's too far gone. Can't release it anymore. It's obsolete because of the times. And Revelation tells us about that. So, I could not do this when I was in enough of a crisis mode that I couldn't come into balance. There was no way. And a lot of us are struggling with that. If I made you angry here because I'm defending God the Father in time and using the God pawn to do that, please know that I'm still hurting that I'm doing this. But my sorcerer side, my angelic archangel side, knows that I'm ready to do it and that I need to nurture myself and know my worth as a woman. As a woman. And that's something even men see, because even men need to do. We need, I just read, always treat others as you would like them to treat you. That is the law and the prophets. That's actually love your neighbor as yourself. It's the same thing. This is the new English Bible. So the translation is quite loose in some of this, but it's interchangeable, and it is action love. Treat others as I have been put in a position over and over and over again to treat people kindly, and sometimes I spin out and I can't do it, fight. But over and over and over again, where I served people who were bullying me or had bullied me and not come back and reconciled it. So, and if you talk to them, they may still be adversarial to me and say that I'm hard to deal with and not a good person. I don't know. I had to disconnect. I was getting hurt too much. And maybe I'm an easier person to work with now. Maybe not. I don't think it's in my stars, so to speak, to be tried again like that. I'm just glad that temptation is over. So, understand your times, my love life. I could not have made this video a moment sooner than I did. I have understood that what it is to wait. And that is in the Bible, in the Psalms, I believe. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up like wings as eagles. Very, very appropriate. I'm sure it's in other cultures said other ways. It is a pagan idea. So it's a pagan understanding of seasonal renewal, where you do soar in other seasons, even if it's hard in this one. So that's why I really appreciate Rudolf Steiner's. I keep showing other people this little booklet, The Calendar of the Soul, because Rudolf Steiner understood the 4 seasons, the yearly death and resurrection and new life processes, old life and the cycles. He's very much pagan, in my personal opinion. Not that he would have called himself that, don't know. But, and this week's itself, which I haven't put up last week's, I've got to. The God Pod goes out on Tuesday, so I'm making my video to publish out my artwork and everything. And The other things that I do, I'm thankful I can just make my own schedule a little bit, and that's helpful for somebody who had to learn how to live without being strict, full of rules and fear, because if you did anything outside of what was required of you, if you did anything outside of that, you were going to be judged to go to hell in my narrow world. And then you face a lot of self-righteousness if you can do it personally, and I could. So I'm glad that is over in my life. This is Beaty-Coffey of the Ministry of Uncovered Knowledge.